Welcome everybody. My name's Fraser O'Leary with Kid Biz, and I have a great pleasure today to be talking with, and Jeff, you're gonna have to tell me if I mangle your last name, Jeff Sandifer.
Perfect.
Perfect. Of Acton Academy and Children's Business Fair. And I asked Jeff to come on board here today to talk about Children's Business Fair and his vision around youth entrepreneurship and some of the other cool things that he's doing and he and his team are doing around the country and world. So welcome, Jeff.
Oh, thanks, Fraser. Nice to be here.
And Jeff, for the people, I mean, many of the people in the youth entrepreneurship space know Children's Business Fair and know you and your team, but can you talk about how you got started with Acton and Children's Business Fair? And I see a couple of youngsters on the screen here. Are they, I think I saw an email from you said this was the first team at the Children's Business Fair?
Well, actually, these are the creators of the Children's Business Fair, Charlie and Sam Sandifer. And this was, let's see, about 13 years ago. They came to us and said, look, we've done lemonade stands before, but we'd like to have a real business. And, you know, we'd like to invite some friends because they might want to have businesses too. So that, being an entrepreneur, that sounded good to me. So we put out a handful of card tables. And I think the first year we had 7 entrepreneurs, and they invited all their friends and people around the neighborhood. And it was a lot of fun, and we forgot about it. And, you know, about 6 or 8 months later, we started getting requests of like, when are we going to do that again? And so for us, it was a one-off deal. But we said, well, we'll do it a second time. And 14 booths, 14 entrepreneurs and 14 booths showed up. We had a couple of hundred people show. We had it a third time, a fourth time. Every year it doubled until we finally were up to 250 entrepreneurs, 130 or so booths, and about 5,000 visitors. And we thankfully had a big yard, and we're holding this at our house. And Fraser, at that point, it hit me. I was standing there watching it all, and we were spending millions of dollars on various educational programs. And mainly for entrepreneurship, and the single best thing we had done was an accident started by these 2 guys who we spent absolutely no time, energy, or money on.
Yeah.
And I really stood there and I thought, I may be the dumbest human being on earth. I cannot believe right in front of my eyes, this thing's been going on. And because it was so easy,
yeah,
we never paid attention. So we put up a website. We decided to have, we would see if a handful of friends wanted to have one. And then, you know, you fast forward to today, and we've had 1,618 fairs serving 81,000 entrepreneurs in 461 cities. And, you know, almost harder to believe, the Net Promoter Score lifetime for the business fair is like a 9.85 on a 10-point scale. I mean, to give you an idea, Apple has a Net Promoter Score of like 7.7, and it's one of the highest in the world. So you literally cannot screw these things up. They're a blast. And, you know, our family basically hosts the website. We put up $500 in prize money for people who want to have one, and we just equip hosts to have them. And it's just that simple. It's not simple. I mean, it's not complicated. We keep it simple, and they're a blast.
I think you said so much in there, and it is funny. I can only imagine that day where you're sitting there looking around and saying, "Wait a minute, it's kind of like acres of diamonds. Wait, this has been under my eyes the entire time." And it is amazing because I have similar experiences of trying, hard things, right? Doing a lot of hard things. And you're describing, I mean, not only the fair is a blast, and I tell people it's the simplest thing I've ever done, because the kids show up and they're jockeying for position, right? They want to get the good tables. That you're not doing anything. You just want to make sure that there are a lot of attendees, really, right? That's fundamental.
Right. Well, yeah. And, you know, we found over the years too that children come away with 3 things. They learn to make something with their own hands. They learn to sell it safely to a customer, and they have some cash left over or not at the end. And, we've been really careful. Charlie and Sam have been adamant as they've grown up to keep it simple. And they say the most important thing really is that second one, that to have a young entrepreneur have the courage to look an adult in the eye and with respect, treat them as an equal, to treat them as a customer. And it's really that courage, even more than the business skills, which they pick up. And, the one thing we don't allow, and this is again from Charlie and Sam, anyone who starts talking about teaching entrepreneurship at one of these, they're out. And we won't even allow them to be hosted at schools. There's nothing against schools. We just don't want even successful entrepreneurs teaching entrepreneurship.
Right.
Because these young people, it's amazing what they can do. I mean, I think my biggest takeaway is children are capable of far more than we've ever imagined, but the adults have to get out of the way.
Right. Yeah, no, and you and I think have emailed about that, is this whole concept of teaching entrepreneurship is really should be called destroying entrepreneurship on some level.
Yeah. Let's make it not fun. When it's really fun, if you leave it alone, let's really make it not fun.
And again, it makes sense, right? Because if you're trying to teach something, then that means you want to have something you can measure, and you want to have something you can hand out in a worksheet, and you want to be able to have them fill something out. You want to teach in a way that makes sense to you. Whereas what you really just need to do is, yes, stay out of the way. Keep everybody saying, now you're going to hear this. Hold on. No, that's a fire engine. But keep out of the way. And let me ask you this, and because you talk about your kids very consciously trying to keep it simple.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've been very impressed by is how lightweight it appears the organization is.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I used to work for a nonprofit, national nonprofit, international nonprofit. I've worked with a lot of nonprofits that, they exist to grow, right? They exist to grow their own their own capacity, which means they do fundraising to hire people, to do fundraising, to hire people, to do fundraising, to hire people. And I love that what I've seen from at least the outside, how lightweight this is and how scalable and just sort of like providing the content. I mean, it's not even content really, to be honest with you. It's this platform. It's the ability to be able to see that other people have done something, maybe to share some ideas. But I get a lot of kids coming through the Children's Business Fair because of, I assume, your investment in promotion and SEO, et cetera.
Well, I think, thanks for giving us credit. We don't even do that much promotion or SEO. It really spreads by word of mouth. And I think, seeing it in our own town double and double and double again, that was purely word of mouth. And we see that happen in other places. So it's surprising how it just spreads virally, and the young people want to do it, and then they invite their friends. And then so it's really hard to screw them up. They really work. And we have kept them simple. We have one staff member, and she's delightful, that runs the whole business fair. And then in our separate venture, the Acton Academy schools, we have 324 schools worldwide, and in 26 countries and 42 US states. That entire operation has one employee. So we really do try to keep things simple. And it's now the host do have to work, right? They have to find tables. They have to invite people from the neighborhood. And I know you've hosted some bigger fairs. If you want to host a big fair, that's a lot of work. You find sponsors, new things, but you can also just put out 7 tables in your front yard like we did and just let it grow organically.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter if someone had across the town, someone had one 6 weeks ago, because a whole new crop of young people will show up and they'll invite their relatives and friends, and you'll have a fair. And so, it really is idiot proof. And I would say that because I would have screwed it up if it were possible to screw it up.
It's a great point. I know you have kind of a rule about, there's not going to be one in the 2 weeks or whatever in the same radius. But the truth of it is, I go to the other fairs. I'm delighted to see it, to see ideas. The biggest risk of having a fair in the same area 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, is if the kids don't have enough inventory. Right. Like I had a fair that was a week before our fair, and I was telling my kids about it, say, listen, if you want to get some, go make some sales, go to this fair. But then I was thinking, wait a minute, I know that kid spends a lot of time making their inventory. I don't want them to run out for our fair. So that's where I got a little territorial, you know.
Well, it is funny to watch because, you know, there's kind of a professional class of 8-year-old entrepreneur, and they'll go to 10 fairs. I mean, they'll go from fair to fair to fair. And then the other thing I see that I just think is fascinating, because we had it so many years and I would listen, you would see this very sophisticated competitive analysis going on, you know, among the young entrepreneurs. They'd say, well, okay, look, slime was big this year, but we've been in this game to know long. Next year, there'll be a tidal wave of slime. And so we need to stay out. And so you would see them learning from each other. You know, inventory's bad. I remember Charlie Sandifer, our oldest, he lost money on inventory one year. So he said he wasn't going to have any kind of inventory. And so he started a business the next year called Ask Dr. C. And I thought it was the dumbest idea I'd ever heard. He was going to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist. You could ask him questions. Well, he turned out to be kind of an idiot savant that, you know, he would tell people things. So he had a line like 100 people deep, paying him $1, you know, and he had no inventory. But my favorite thing, I was kind of sitting in the back listening to him, and this woman walked up and she sat down, and, you know, she was 35 or 40. And she said, you know, I've been trying to find a husband and I just can't find one. I mean, either they're married or they're too old or they're, you know, she went on and on and on. And she just kept complaining. And after she finally quit, Charlie just reached over and pushed her money back to her and said, I don't think I can help you.
Oh, no.
And it was just one of those moments, you know, the kid actually does have a lot of wisdom. I'm sorry, I just can't help you.
I just can't help you. That's both hilarious and sad on some level. But your point about the analysis is so true, and it's funny, right? Because similarly to how we talk about teaching entrepreneurship and the folly of it, similar to planning, right? Like economic planning. You know, the kids can pay attention. They can learn the lessons. I think about, we had a surplus of baked goods this at our last fair, right? A lot of bakers. And so they're looking around and they're like, oh, well, we got to find better. We got to move to a better location, or we need to change. We need to enhance our product offering, whatever. All of which you would destroy if you were trying to introduce it 3 months before the fair, right?
Right. Or they'll hire a barker to go out and kind of bring customers to them. And I mean, I've seen just very clever, sophisticated things. And you know, I think it'd be easy for someone watching this to think these are everyone's selling cupcakes, because nothing wrong with selling cupcakes. I probably would have. But then you see these occasionally a really sophisticated business. I remember Michaela with her Sweet Bee lemonade was so cute at age 4.5. She showed up at one of our first fairs. And, you know, she ended up raising money at a $10 million valuation at Shark Tank, and now has Bee Sweet lemonade all across the country. And Reese, who's the girl in the photo here, she sold $26,000 worth of greeting cards at one fair, got 2 retail accounts. I mean, she's a gifted artist. She ended up doing an apprenticeship associated with Donna Karan. So some of these young entrepreneurs at 8, 9, 10, 13, 14 are forces to be reckoned with. And you know, and others are learning valuable lessons selling cupcakes. It's all across the board.
It is funny because honestly, as a guy who kind of, you know, lives and breathes this youth entrepreneurship stuff, I say I'll be like, you know, it's great having, you know, little Daniel Pereira, who's 6 years old and he sells painted rocks, but it's also, you know, you want for that evolution, right? You want for the kid to be doing the apps, or the kid to be doing the you know, multi-location landscaping businesses or whatever, because you want progress. I tell the kids, I will go and speak in schools to recruit, right, for our expos and stuff, and I'll say, there's nothing wrong with taking advantage of the fact that right now you're cute. Okay, you're cute right now. People,
absolutely.
You're selling cupcakes when you're 5 years old, selling cupcakes when you're 10 years old, selling cupcakes.
Well, I got to tell you, Fraser, no offense, but you and I are a little bit past the sell date of cute, so we're not going to.
Your video must be wrong because I'm still very, very cute, Jeff. But yes, we can't trade on cute anymore.
No, I'm not sure I ever could, but it's well past time if I could have.
Yeah, but you're right. It's important to remember that that's again a little bit of a adult thing, right? We're like, because the kids, whatever they're doing, is a step towards where they want to be. So we don't need to get involved and say, oh, it should be better. It's like, listen, do your thing. Let the market tell you if it should be better, right?
But it's easy these days to watch the news and get down on the world and get worried about things because you hear one catastrophe after another and gloom and doom. And then you hold one of these fairs, and I don't know about you, but it gives me hope for the future.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many young entrepreneurs you need to make the world work, but there are a lot more out there than I used to think there were.
Yeah.
And I've got to believe that when a host does this in their community, they bring in some hope, they bring in some happiness. It's a lot of fun. And then I think it'll send ripples through time that they'll never see. I mean, I think it will, you talk about a Warren Buffett that threw newspapers, or the kids that mowed lawns, or they went out and sold lemonade. I mean, I think that this will launch young people, but gosh, even in the moment, it's just so much fun that, and it's so good for a community.
Well, and you talk about the ripples and the how the host feels, but certainly everybody who comes, they walk out of there with kind of a refreshed purpose. But I love what you're saying about the ripples, because that person who attends thinks, well, this would be great to host in my area, right? In my neighborhood, in my community. And that's sort of what I really like about you have a Facebook group for hosts where they're sharing ideas. And of course, somebody can plug into that. And then you have the website has incredible tools. I mean, truthfully, like you said, you don't need for it to be a 50 booth or 100 booth fair. It could be, our first one was 10, and it was fantastic. And I was worried, right? I was worried that we weren't going to have enough attendance for the kids to have vibrancy. What's really amazing, and I don't know if you experience this or other hosts experience this, is like, if you have 15 or 20 booths, if you have 30 people at any given time, every booth has a person there. You can't have 10 people deep at a booth.
Well, and then also, and I know you've been through this because you've done enough, you also start even as a host. I mean, and the host mature too, because you start to realize, oh gosh, if I'm going to have 50, I need to, and then so you start to get, each entrepreneur brings 5 people, or, I can remember we would always be petrified when we had the big fairs, knowing them. So we'd go send, an army of children out with things to put on people's doors in the neighborhood, or you start to get clever about how, as you grow. And that's why I like starting small, because you learn lessons along the way. But the other thing is, they just always work. I mean, they really don't, you have to really try to mess one up. And I think out of, 1,600 plus fairs, I can think of 3 or 4 that failed. And it was just the host, put them in a place where no one ever went, recruited 3 children. But literally that's 3 or 4 times out of 1,600.
Right.
Because the rest of them work.
No, they what happens is, like, we're adults, right? And we have this grand vision or perfection thing. And it's the only place that, like, because of your philosophy, it's really the only place that the adult gets to actually have control, right? Is what location and the setup so we give ourselves an opportunity to be disappointed or to fall short. But you're right, you get petrified, you're not gonna have enough people. And if we've done them where there were hundreds of people, so you have sort of a built-in audience, and we've done them in places where they're a destination. And like you said, it's great to start small, because you have an incredible impact with those 5 to 10 kids and the 25 to 100 people that attend. It's a great start. You don't have to start off as a huge fair, as you've seen so many of these. One last question, I suppose, is about the Children's Business Fair and your vision for it. Obviously, we talked about sort of the ease with which somebody can get involved. I remember when I did it for the first time, I don't know if they still do it this way, but I submitted a video of why I wanted to host one. And then, you know, you went through a process, a background check process, et cetera. And then you get access to these tools to enable you to create an instance of the fair. Very lightweight, very easy. I haven't been as active on the Facebook page as I hope to be in terms of really sharing ideas. But that's, of course, a great kind of franchisee type model where people are trying things out and then get to share ideas with other people, and you can learn from each other. Completely fun and no cost and all that stuff. What's your vision for the children's business fair? Is it just keep watching it grow?
Yeah, I'm not a big kind of vision legacy kind of guy. I mean, you might have a vision like you want to go try something and see if it works, but this will become what it's going to become. It looks like, from best we can tell, we're going to get to about 1,000 fairs a year serving 50,000 young people. And that's no reason not to want to do 2,000, but I see a path to 1,000 a year pretty easily. And it's just, the model keeps spreading by word of mouth. Don't screw it up. Keep it simple. I see that the acting academies, I think we're going to get to about coincidentally, about 1,000 academies around the world. That'll be serving 100,000 young people. That's a drop in the bucket. There's 50 million kids in school in the United States. So somebody said, why don't you do 10 times as much? It's like, we're just going to do it right as many times as we can. And we do hardly any marketing of the acting academy anymore. It spreads by word of mouth too. So it's owners and children of owners and graduates, and and so it just spreads because it works. And I don't want to force it and have it spread to where it doesn't work. So basically, I think we'll get to 1,000 fairs and 1,000 schools. Maybe in somebody else's hands it would have been a lot bigger, but that's probably where we're headed. But it's going to be what it's going to be.
Right. Well, I mean, this has been great for me, Jeff. I appreciate you spending some time with me. Is there anything you want to share with the people who are doing the fairs? I mean, I think that would be great to share this video with them and get them to connect with.
So thank you for helping spread the word. My main message, whether it's the fairs or the academy or your own children or grandchildren, it really is, children are capable of far more than we've ever imagined. And when we intrude too much and we don't allow them to fail and don't allow them to try and don't trust that they've got this, we're really doing them a disservice. But I've seen what children can do, all children. I mean, they really are all geniuses. That doesn't mean they have 180 IQs. That means they have a certain gift or skill they can take and use in the world. And so I just, when they annoy you or do something that you don't like, that's mainly, or when it happens to me, that's about me, not about them. And they're incredible.